I could make this a very short video, since the update for ROG's almost iconic gaming 14-incher, the Zephyrus G14, builds up on the already excellent predecessor and pretty much improves on everything. And considering it simply has no competition at all, it's a pretty easy recommendation when you're looking for a still pretty insane blend of portability and performance. That said, if there's no competition, so no new Razer Blade 14, nothing from Legion or Alienware or any of the other well-established premium gaming brands, I wonder if there's even a market for the G14's unique combination of computing and gaming potential with all of the advantages and disadvantages of its form factor. Well, it seems we do indeed need a little more time, so how about we get into it and have a look at this beauty right here. Continuing the overall legacy of the G14, the 2026 model is once again your only option if you want anything faster than a 5070 or AMD's Strix Halo in a compact 14-inch form factor. And our config for today bets on Nvidia's RTX 5070 Ti and an Intel Panther-Lake CPU, which is new for the series since ROG was opting for AMD for quite a few generations. While you will be able to get the Zephyrus with up to 64 gigs of RAM and a 5080, we have to make do with 32 gigs of system memory and a 1TB SSD. And while the cost of entry is significant, considering other price hikes we have seen recently, I was actually expecting this to be even more, to be quite honest. On the display side, ROG keeps the overall panel specs, so you get the same 2.8K resolution, 120Hz refresh rate, G-Sync support and pretty high PWM frequency for an OLED, in addition to Asus's software flicker-free dimming options. But for this year, we get a very welcome overall brightness bump with around 500 nits in SDR and more than 1100 nits for HDR. So no matter if you are into faster competitive titles for which you can enjoy the typical near instant response times, or if you're like me into those HDR story titles, well, all of it is a proper feast for your eyes. And with factory calibration almost on reference level and pre-calibrated presets, the G14 also got you covered on the creator front in photo or video editing, for example. When it comes to its chassis, we can also keep it short, since the Zephyrus still looks and feels as premium as ever, and the overall styling is almost unchanged apart from a new bottom cover that is supposed to allow for better airflow and therefore a bit more wattage for the GPU. So let's see if we can attest to that in our performance testing in a little bit. The light-up strip across the display lid also gets a new mirror finish, but that is pretty much it when it comes to external changes and upgrades. But that's okay, since the G14 looks awesome, especially in this almost white silverish color, and there's also absolutely nothing to complain when it comes to chassis rigidity. And ROG also improved the hinges, which keep the display in place much more firmly than before. The overall port arrangement also hasn't changed and is still more than adequate for a 14-inch. And on the left, you get your power connector, HDMI 2.1, USB-A 3.2 Gen 2, a Thunderbolt 4 and the headphone jack, with a second USB-A 3.2 Gen 2, a second USB-C, this time also in the 3.2 Gen 2 standard, and new for 2026, a full-size SD card reader with excellent transfer rates on the right. Below the new button plate, you still have access to a single NVMe slot and the Wi-Fi card. And while we complained about the glued-in rubber covers for the screws in the back for the past generations, they are now held in place by magnets, which is actually some pretty insane attention to detail. Unfortunately, the webcam quality is still lacking quite a bit for such a premium laptop, which you will use undoubtedly for more than just gaming. We have nothing to complain about the wireless transfer store, and with our new Wi-Fi 7 reference router, we did measure some pretty snappy and stable up and download speeds. That leaves us with inputs before we deal with performance, and as per usual, the G14 offers a solid amount of travel, great tactility and an overall very satisfying typing experience, no matter if we are talking games or typing longer texts, like the script for this video, for example. Subjectively, the touchpad also feels a lot more premium than on prior generations, and it does its job quite well without any problems during our testing. Alright, performance, and let's see if the change to an Intel CPU and the potentially higher power limits make any difference in real-world scenarios. But before we get to that, as per usual, we did some initial testing, so you get an idea what to expect from the various power modes the ROG has on offer. And to get the most out of it, we decided to use the turbo profile for our testing. In our CPU rating, the 16-core hybrid Pentalag silicon does not offer any significant advantages or disadvantages compared to the 12-core AMD CPU that powered its predecessor. But since Team Blue focused a lot more on efficiency for this year's mobile generation, I am very curious about battery life for this one right here in a little bit. Our isolated Cinebench results also show only minimal gains in single and multi-core performance, while Apple, with the M5 Max we have tested in the MacBook Pro 14, still reigns absolutely supreme if you are after pure CPU grind. Similarly, the Zephyrus only has to yield to Apple's mobile powerhouse in the same overall form factor, while its fast GPU and speedy SSD position the G14 quite well against its Windows-powered competition in our system performance benchmarks. As per usual, the Zephyrus is an incredibly snappy system, and it's also a very solid option for creators or power users if you are after a portable workstation that can confidently handle more advanced workflows even beyond gaming. On the GPU side of things, we get a slight bump in wattage, and in most of our synthetics, this G14 is giving even its 5080 powered sibling a run for its money and actually offers similar performance results to the M5 Max powered MacBook Pro in benchmarks available on both platforms. But ROG is of course a gaming brand, so how about we have a look at some gaming benchmarks. And once again, in most of our testing, the 2026 G14 and our 5070 Ti config easily keeps up with the 5080 version we tested last year. So I'm actually very interested if that is solely because of the switch to an Intel CPU or the higher wattage, or if it's because of driver and firmware majority. So please let me know below whether we should test the 5080 version as well. Please enjoy our benchmark results, and as always, if you are after additional results, be it for the games we tested, individual CPU scores or more in-depth insights into the G14 stress test behavior, make sure to check out our written review. You can find the necessary links in the description below. Apart from benchmarks, what the G14 offers when it comes to gaming performance in such a tiny package you can easily set up anywhere is pretty insane, and you are easily able to run pretty much everything, for the most part even in QHD without a problem, especially if you take DLSS in its latest 4.5 version into account. And utilizing Team Green's upscaling magic mostly gets you into the 60 FPS territory, even for some of the most demanding games currently available. And with FrameGen, maxing out the 120Hz refresh rate is also not really a problem for an even smoother overall experience. So what happens when you stuff a 5070 Ti in a super slim 14-inch chassis? Well, things get either loud, hot, or both. And ROG still can't bend the laws of thermodynamics here, so if you want everything the G14 has on offer in terms of performance potential, well, things will get very audible. You should also make sure to use the silent mode when you're doing something undemanding, since the fans will spin in turbo even when just browsing the web. Overall, I would personally be quite happy with the compromise, considering the performance the Zephyrus offers, but this will of course be subjective. Please enjoy our noise samples, and I also added the manual mode into the mix as well, and as you can see, the performance benefits are very marginal. As per usual, the G14 also offers some of the best speakers on the market, and if you utilize the balanced mode, you can actually enjoy even some more immersive story games without always having to rely on headphones. I tested before, and while the Panther Lake CPU does not offer a lot in terms of raw performance numbers, you get some proper gains in battery life, almost bringing the G14 on the same level as Apple's MacBook Pro 14 in our standard Wi-Fi test at 150 nits. While it's dominating at full brightness, even though you have to take the different brightness levels into account here. So yeah, Intel's Panther Lake effect is very impressive here, and the G14 does not only shine when it comes to performance, but also when you're doing normal laptop things while being on battery. Alright good people, that's already it for the G14, and yes, it's expensive, and yes, it won't be for everyone, but if you are looking for a gaming laptop that you can easily throw into any backpack and that can still run pretty much everything currently on the market, while also being able to drive an external display in your office when being stationary, again, the Zephyrus does not have any competition. If you're not that much into gaming, the MacBook Pro is also a solid alternative, but it will be even more expensive in a similar config. And if you don't need the latest and greatest, some last-gen options like the Razer Blade 14 are still solid as well, if you can live with the GPU downgrades. But yeah, the 2026 Zephyrus continues the trend of its 2023 predecessor that started everything with stuffing a 4090 in a 14-inch form factor, and this one right here is the most refined version yet, combining as much performance as possible in such a compact form factor. But please sound off what you think about the new G14, and circling back to my initial question, if there's a market for something like the Zephyrus, feel free to let me know what you think and for what you would actually use something like this puppy right here. Gaming everywhere as a subtle creator workstation, AI prototyping, or a little bit of everything. I can't wait to read your opinions here. And that's pretty much it from my end for today. Thanks a ton for watching, good people. Please leave a like and sub on your way out. My name is Alex, you have been absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Take care.